everybody. We are live. We are so excited to be with you today to talk about one of our favorite topics, right, Barbara?
Absolutely.
And first of all, I'm Andrea Anderson with Productive Environment Institute, and Barbara Hemphill is founder of Productive Environment Institute and also known as the Vision Accelerator. So we'll talk a little bit more about us a little bit further into the session, but we want to just jump right in. We want to jump right in and talk to you guys because it is at the time of this recording and us being live, it is mid to late December of 2023. So this is the time, if you haven't already done it, for you to be thinking about your planner or your calendar for the new year. And we were talking about your calendar, your way, navigating 2024 planner options. And the very first thing I want to just say, I want to ask you guys a question. Do you use the words calendar and planner interchangeably? Barbara, do you? I mean, I have for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Right?
I definitely have. And you know what, Andrea, I just want to back up a second because I thought of something that I just had to seem so appropriate. You know, there are certain principles that Productive Environment Institute has been promoting. And one of them came from my daddy growing up on the farm, where he used to say, half of any job is having the right tool. That's what he would say, having the right tool. And I can remember him telling stories. I particularly remember one where he needed a particular tool and he couldn't afford to buy it. And so he literally was in the junk pile, digging through things and then taking wire and duct tape and I don't know what all. And he actually did. He made a tool. So I always vividly remember that story. But I remember him saying, half any job is having the right tool. But when I started working with people on their calendars and their planners, that was what prompted me to change the verb to using the right, because so many people had it, but they weren't really using it. And so that I think is really, really key to this, is like using what you do have, because a lot of times we don't use what we already have.
Exactly. And before we jump into, what tool, everybody asks us, what is the best tool? What's the best calendar? What's the best planner if you are using it interchangeably? And we are going to talk about the difference in just a minute. But we use, just like we use for every single thing that we do, we use our productive environment process, our 5-step productive environment process. And so as we go through, as I talk about the difference a little bit, I want you to think about this. So everything starts with your vision. So state your vision. And if you've got something to write with while you're sitting there or watching this, write down, like, what is it that you want your calendar or planner to do for you in the next year? Right? If you've got issues with time, if you feel like you have time management problems, and if you only had the best planner or the best calendar for you, then, you wouldn't have those problems. So that brings you to step 2, which is, what are your, identify your obstacles. So Barbara, you had a story. I remember you talked about the story about somebody you met on an airplane. That didn't like her planner, didn't like her calendar.
Well, actually, it was right after Christmas, and I was sitting next to this woman, and she had this big, thick leather planner, and she had it in front of her, and she goes, "Oh!" And I looked over and I said, "Wow, that sounds ominous." And she said, "I guess I'm hopeless." She said, I have such a trouble with managing my time, and my husband gave me this planner for Christmas and I don't even know what to do with it. And so we spent the next 2 hours on the flight literally going through it, because it was one of these planners as opposed to a calendar that had everything in it about time zones from all over the world and zip codes and address books and everything. And we spent the next 2 hours going through that planner to figure out which parts of it she really needed. And a lot of it she didn't. And that's one of the things that happens, is that the planners they have lots of options, and people use some of the options and don't know which ones to use.
Mm-hmm. And little did she know, this woman, that she sat down on an airplane next to Barbara Hemphill, the paper tiger lady, who was one of the expert organizers in the entire world. So it was her lucky day.
Well, she said to me, God sent me an angel today. That was her comment. God sent me an angel today.
Yeah, I love it. So what are your obstacles? So think about the planner or calendar that you have used this past year or up to this point. And if you haven't used one at all, then that might be an obstacle. So, what have you used already that you liked or didn't like? So if there's an obstacle, what is it about? Is it too big to take with you? Is it too small to write in? What are the obstacles that are keeping you from really loving the calendar or planner that you have now? And then commit your resources. So basically, what do you have that you can, that is a resource, a place to start. So maybe your experience with something else, or maybe you already have something that would work, or you've got somebody else that you look at that you think is like super organized and productive and you want to know what they use. So just because they're super organized and productive doesn't mean that what they use is going to work for you though. So, but you can certainly ask, and what other resources do you have? And then create
a good way to ask somebody is to say, what do you like about your calendar planner? Just that one question, or what is essential or something, because that would just kind of give you some, because one of the things we've said all along is there is no perfect calendar and planner. I mean, if you're looking for the perfect one, you're not going to live long enough. So, but that's not a problem. We're going to tell you how to fix that. So
that's right. That's right. We've got some real tangible physical things to share with you guys, and some, everybody that knows me knows I'm really not a big fan of quote tips and tricks. We're more about systems and strategies, and we're going to have a little bit of both for you guys, because I know everybody wants the tips and tricks. So we do have some for you, but it has to fit inside a bigger plan. It has to fit into a system. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then that really brings us to step 4, is create and execute your plan. So once you know your vision, you know what you want your calendar or planner to do for you, and you've identified what isn't working, you've committed what is working and the things that you want to keep potentially in your system. And now you're going to create and execute your plan. And that's something that we can help you with. We've got a download we're going to share with you guys in a little while. And then you can also have an opportunity to schedule an appointment if you want to meet with one of our certified productive environment specialists that can kind of literally go over your calendar or planner system with you. And then sustain your success. Once you find something that is working for you, how do you keep it going? How do you sustain your success or maintain your success? How do you keep that going? So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But before we get into the tips and tricks, let's talk about the difference between a calendar and a planner. So a calendar and a plan, the difference between a calendar and planner lies primarily in their functions and how they are used for organizing time and tasks. And I'll be honest, for most of my life, I've used them interchangeably. And so really there is a distinct difference. So a calendar is primarily used to track dates and events, right? It's like, duh. It provides a visual representation of time broken down into days, weeks, months, and years. Okay? You're like, okay, we already knew that. Why are you telling us that? So it's not the same thing as a planner. So as far as functionality goes for a calendar, it's for event tracking, which is ideal for scheduling, keeping track of fixed commitments like meetings, appointments, and events. There's time sensitivity. Calendars are designed to manage time-sensitive commitments, offering reminders and alerts for upcoming events, right? Okay, so that's a calendar. The format for a calendar could be typically, layout of days, months, weeks. There's flexibility. You can, there are different things you can track. And most modern digital calendars allow for syncing across devices, sharing with others, and integration with other apps. So it's interesting how I have used the terms interchangeably, where Barbara, I've said many times that, if there's a task that I need to do and it doesn't end up on my calendar, then it's probably not going to get done. And so that's what happened with the integration of the digital side and the physical side, is that the calendar actually lives inside a planner. So they are two separate things. It doesn't go the other direction. See what I mean? So let me tell you about the planner, and then maybe you can see what I'm talking about. So the purpose of a planner is designed for detailed time management and task organization. So a calendar is fixed, appointments, days, times. A planner helps you manage your time with the tasks. So task management, planners allow for listing, prioritizing, and organizing tasks and goals.
I just thought of an idea about it that I hadn't thought of before.
Mm-hmm.
A planner is proactive. A calendar is reactive. So a calendar says you're reacting to the fact that the calendar says we did this Zoom at noon Eastern time today. I am reacting to the fact that the calendar says that's what I need to do today.
Mm-hmm.
A planner is being proactive about how do I want to use my time?
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't ever thought, I swear that's why I love what I do, because I never thought of that before, but it really is true.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating because exactly what you just said. It's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. This is what's on my calendar that I have to react or respond to or do.
Right.
And the planner, it's for reflection and planning. Most planners include spaces for notes, reflections, goal setting, detailed breakdowns of tasks. And of course, planners can vary in layout as well, daily, weekly, monthly. So here's what's interesting. The calendar views inside of the planner they help you visualize your entire plan. So do you see how a calendar can live inside a planner, but a planner doesn't really live inside the calendar? It's the other way. Yeah.
I think about, so we're going to talk about one of the planners that I used for decades, which is Planner Pad. And one of the major, I would say the major thing that separated it from every other one, that was the reason I really liked it, was it had in the front, I used an 8.5 by 11. And in the front was a year at a glance.
Mm-hmm.
And that feature I didn't see anywhere else. And it was like I was using paper and I wanted to see that. And so I would put in the year at a glance what I called non-negotiable appointments. So I would go in at the beginning of the year, put in the birthdays that I was blocking out, the things that I wasn't going to put in family vacations. At the beginning of the year, I always put in the week for family vacation. That was the first thing that went in the calendar. And then I would put in paid speeches. So back then I was doing like 50 speeches a year, and people call and say, could you come to Chicago on such and such a day? I could click to year at a glance and quickly look and see if there was a non-negotiable appointment on that. So that was one feature that really made it work for me.
Love that. All right, I got to share some little comments we're getting here. New Path Productivity is watching. Kathy Music. A planner is proactive, a calendar is reactive. Yep, exactly. That's right. Praise God, Carrie. Awesome. All right. So let's go over very briefly the key differences again. Okay. So listen up. The key differences are, number one, in focus. Calendars focus on dates and events, while planners focus on tasks and personal time management. You see the difference? Dates and events, tasks and personal time management. The other difference is flexibility versus constraint. Which one do you think is more flexible, or which one do you think is more constraining? So calendars represent constraints. They are fixed time commitments, whereas planners offer more freedom, flexibility, and task management. So if you think of it like there's a task, or there's something on the calendar that you have to do at a certain time. Okay, that's constraint. If you've got tasks and projects you're working on, but you can work on them anytime, that fits with your energy, that fits with your schedule, how you work best, then that's in your planner. That's flexibility. And then structure, calendars are structured around time, while planners are structured around tasks and goals. So do you see how they absolutely work together? They absolutely work together. And what's so interesting is that not everybody needs both. Not everybody needs a planner. Not everybody, I mean, you may or may, depending on what you do, depending on your job or your business or what you do, one may be more important than the other. And that brings us to one of my favorite topics is the different working styles. And it is called the maker's schedule versus manager's schedule. Have you guys ever heard of that? Let me pull that up because I think I had that I was going to share. Maker's schedule versus manager's schedule. And in a nutshell, the manager's schedule is for high level bosses, somebody who has appointment, maybe not a high level boss, but somebody that has appointments with people throughout the day. And then might be your day is segmented, your calendar is segmented into 30-minute increments. You're meeting throughout the day. So if somebody is a manager and if you're in the scheme of like a business owner, small business owner, that may not be, a boss. It may be people you're meeting with for your business, but it implies that, their time is for other people, filling up those time slots. It's not for you. And the maker's schedule, which I think is a lot of you listening, a lot of people in our community would be considered makers, meaning we create something. We create courses, we create trainings, we provide services, we create programs for services. We're makers. If you're a writer, you're creating. So the maker's schedule is for creators who need deep work and time to get into a rhythm when working. That is 100% me. And when I read this article, we'll share this wherever you're watching from. If you go to our YouTube channel when this is over, we'll have all the links and everything in there for you in the description. But when I read this article, I was like, that makes so much sense. So let me just read this little part to you. It says they're talking about the makers' calendars. Their calendars are sectioned into bigger blocks like morning and afternoon. This implies that their time is for them, not others. They block out large sections of time for focused work and then hold office hours where anyone can meet with them to discuss something, enabling them to invest uninterrupted hours in top priority work. So makers find, it was this right here, makers find sporadic meetings throughout the day as creative kryptonite. It saps their energy and doesn't allow for any real work to be done. Oh my gosh. That is so true. For me, at least, if anybody else can relate. And so, but as a business owner, you really need both. You actually, and so for me, I don't do well doing both, mixing both in the same day. So if I need deep thought and focused work, I can't have a couple of meetings at the same day. I separate those out. And I have at least one day a week where I do not speak to another single person, except at the gym in the morning. But after that, I don't speak to anybody else.
And so I think here's an example where I'm exactly the opposite.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, in fact, I'm working out with a new trainer and he sent me some videos of some training that I was supposed to do for a fixed period of time. And when I looked at it, it was like an hour. I said, there's hardly anything that I do for an hour. So this isn't going to work. Now, if I'm in front of the trainer, I will. But if I'm at home, I'm not going to do it. And so I thrive on the variety, and I don't do well at all. Even in writing, I write in small segments. I don't write for blocks of time. And that really brings up what is so core to the way we function. It's not what should you do, but what will you do? What brings you joy? And for me, multitasking for me is joy. And I know, there's lots of stuff about it. You're not supposed to do it and all that. I think I'm a very productive person. I have lots of people say, I can't believe how much stuff you get done. And I do multitask, and I have zones of time, but my zones of time are much shorter. So an hour for me of focus time is plenty. I don't need more than an hour. That the time, interestingly enough, that I spend the most time is in my quiet prayer and Bible study time in the morning. That is where that ranges from a minimum of 30 minutes to up to 2 hours. And that, I guess, is a gift from God. That is like, I learned that the more I do that, then the more productive I am in the other days, because in the rest of the day, because things that I thought were going to take a long time, it's like, I got that done already. So I guess that's an example of putting first things first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope you guys are resonating with this, because some of you guys are going to be more like Barbara, and like, especially our people that are because you're ADD, right, Barbara? ADHD. Like, if you have an ADHD brain, the thought of sitting down and focusing for a couple of hours on something may just, like, no, I can't do that. And I'm the complete opposite. Like, I need that time. I need that focused, quiet time. So you may be one or the other. And like I said, depending on what your role is in your company or as a business owner, you need to probably do a little bit of both. This paragraph really resonated with me. I swear, when I first read this article a couple of years ago, I felt like, oh my God, somebody gets me. Like, they get me. Okay. So I find one meeting this is a maker schedule. I find one meeting can sometimes affect a whole day. A meeting commonly blows at least half a day by breaking up a morning or an afternoon. But in addition, there's sometimes a cascading effect. If I know the afternoon is going to be broken up, I'm slightly less likely to start something ambitious in the morning. That is so true. I know this may sound oversensitive, but if you're a maker, think of your own case. Don't your spirits rise at the thought of having an entire day free to work with no appointments at all? Anybody else out there? Anybody? Well, that means your spirits are correspondingly depressed when you don't. And ambitious projects are, by definition, close to the limits of your capacity. A small decrease in morale is enough to kill them off. So that's why we say there isn't a right way or the best planner for everybody, because we all work differently and we all have, different energy levels, and your days are scheduled differently. So there isn't any one size fits all. Let's talk about, Barbara. Pam says manager and maker fascinates me. Yeah, me too. It's so fascinating. So let's talk about, Barbara, how we actually do our own. So I'll say what I use. I use Google Calendar as my calendar. That is my calendar, and it's online, it's digital. And that's for appointments, things I have to do at a certain time. Those are the constraints. I do not like to be constrained in the physical of writing something. So as much as I'm attracted to all the planners that show up on my Facebook feed, and I've bought several of them through the years, because they all promise to be the best one. Every time I get one, the excitement is when the UPS driver brings it and I open it up and I'm like, yes, there's nothing better than cracking open a new planner, and it's like, yay. But once I get into it, I feel those constraints. So I end up using I'm hearing some weird feedback. I end up using a blank notebook. So I have my appointments and everything on the calendar, on my Google Calendar, and I use my notebook to take notes or map out things I need to do. But I recently, not really recently, any tasks that I do, I now make sure they're on my calendar as well, and in my Google Calendar. So I used to have to just block off time as an event or an appointment, and now the calendars have the task feature, so that they've actually turned the Google Calendar into a Google Planner, an electronic planner. So I kind of use that. And then my physical, I do like to write, so I have a physical notebook. And one more thing, Barbara, I think I shared this with you guys. I did miss a little bit of structure when I'm writing. So I found these little tear off sticky note pages. I got these from Amazon. I'll post a link in the description. But these allow me to tear off a sheet, and it gives me the outline of my day, which is already in my Google Calendar. I just put it on my piece of paper because I like to write, and I put it in my notebook. And then that gives me the freedom. I have as many pages as I need to take notes or to work throughout the day, and I'm not constrained by the next day or the next week. So that is working for me now. Doesn't mean it's always going to work for me, but it works for me now. So how about you, Barbara? And I know you've evolved over the years too.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so for starting in, I think 1999, I've got sun that keeps coming in. Let me just see if I can put this shade down. It keeps driving me crazy. I can't get it. I got the sun. I think 1999, I started using the planner pad, which is just, I mean, I had so many clients. I can't even tell you how many clients said, I've been looking for this for my whole life. And at that point, it was a combination of a maker and a manager, I think. So I was living in both worlds. And I was very detailed about how I specifically used it. I had very specific ways. And from 1999 through the up until, I don't know, 2015 or something, I used it and I just loved it. And I still recommend it to many clients because it's really it's very flexible, but also very structured. Now my life is very, very different. I am not a manager at all. I manage myself and that's about it, but I'm not managing anybody else. And so I'm very free to do what feels like it's the right thing to do. And I have big pictures of things blogs I want to write and projects people I want to meet on. So I have my Google Calendar for fixed appointments with other people and with myself. So if there's something that, okay, Barbara, especially if it's something I'm procrastinating about, I mean, if there's something that I really need to do and I don't want to do it, then the best thing to do is to put it and make an appointment with myself. So I have that. And then I have a notebook too. Mine's a smaller one because I carry it with me. So I want mine to be smaller. And you can see it's messy, very messy. It's where I take notes when I go places. I'm always writing notes. And I don't ever go back at the end of the day or every 2 or 3 days. I go through and extract what I want from there, to-dos or things I want to remember or things like that. And then I use Workflowy, which is my to-do list. And not only is it my to-do list, but it's various projects and what I want to remember on projects, who I want to discuss with. So every time I think of something that this is something I want to do, it either goes in my Google Calendar as a fixed time, or it goes into Workflowy under one of my categories of things to do, because I will block out time for writing, but I don't block out for specific writing. It's what I want to write about today. It might be a blog, it might be this or what, because I just crave flexibility. I think when I graduated from college, I was a major in music and I was a music teacher. And I had a headache every single day. And I said, there has to be another way to make a living. I cannot do this. And I realized there were 2 reasons. One was that I was teaching something I loved, music, to elementary school kids who didn't really want to learn it. And so that was one. But the bigger one was I hate structure. And so the idea that I knew for 9 months exactly where I was going to be is like just, does not work for me. So, it really is finding your style. And then, it goes to our 4 questions. The 4 questions we ask about something's organized. Number 1, does it work? Number 2, do you like it? Number 3, does it work for the people that it impacts? And number 4, can you recover quickly? Meaning, you don't write things down or you don't get your to-do list and, it's like, can you recover? And then 6 months later, you ask the same questions and say, does it still work? Do I still like it? Does it still work for the people it impacts? And can I still recover quickly? If the answer is no, it doesn't mean it was wrong before. It just means things have changed.
That's right. So you want to pay attention to the things that work for you. And I've got a couple of examples here. So Liz with Davidson Organizing, she's one of our certified product environment specialists. She said, I love the planner pad, but I write very small and the seasons version that fits in my purse works for me. Most of my clients need the larger executive version, but then it ends up being too big. So,
so there's an example of you can have anything you want. So for years, I bought only bags that were big enough to fit my 8.5. I mean, that was my trade-off. That was absolutely my trade-off.
Well, finish that statement, Barbara. You can have anything you want,
but not everything.
But not everything.
And so I was sometimes frustrated that I was carrying a big bag, but it was far more important to me to have my planner pad than it was to have a smaller bag. So that was my trade-off.
And then Rose said, I used Allison Lewis from 7 Minute Life. It's a daily planner. Exactly, Rose. And actually, I'm glad you said that. This was not planned. She's not an audience plant. She's actually one of our community members. But I do actually have something up to share with that. Share screen for the 7 Minute Life daily planner. Allison is a friend and colleague of ours. And from what I personally have not used this planner, but I really want to. I understand that this is a planner versus a calendar. There's a calendar inside here. In fact, if you jump to 52, I believe, see, there's the calendar view, right? Of this, but this is 83 pages of lots of other things: 90-day work goals, financial goals, bucket lists, grocery lists. This is a perfect example of the difference between a calendar and a planner. The calendar for fixed appointments are in here, but there's also a bunch of other things that help you plan out your life. And we've got another client who's a realtor, and she swears by the 7 Minute daily planner for her real estate business. She said it really changed her life. So if you're in sales, I understand that this is a really good planner for you. So you can check that out. Again, come to our YouTube channel and we'll put all the links to everything in the description box. But these are just another example of of options. Although I haven't used it, we know Allison, and I know that she teaches some really great time management training. So definitely check that out. Let me stop that screen share. Stop screen, and here we are back. Okay, so yeah, I can show you guys the links, but they're kind of long. So 7 Minute Life downloadable daily planner demo. Yeah, you guys can check that out. But we'll put it in the description box. Okay, so let's see what else. Oh yeah, so to help you decide what is the best planner for you. So I want you to think about what we talked about with how you work. Are you a maker or are you a manager, for one thing? Because I think the manager schedule is going to be more focused on the calendar itself. And the maker is going to be more focused on the planner and planning out and time and projects and time blocking and things like that. So think about that. But we also have a download for you. I'm going to share my screen, but you guys can go get this for free. Eds will post the link to it on the screen in just a second. So let me share this. These are some questions that you can ask yourself. There we go. Share. Okay. So you guys can download this. So starting with, what is your purpose and use? So what's the primary purpose of your planner or calendar? Scheduling meetings, tracking projects, personal organization, something else. So think through that. How frequently do you plan to use your calendar or planner? Daily, weekly, monthly? Some people don't, they just need it monthly, believe it or not. So size and portability, we just talked about that. What size works best for you? Pocket size, desk size, wall calendar? Do you need your planner to be portable? I really don't need my planner to be portable. I work primarily at my desk. I work virtually. So I don't need it. The size doesn't really matter to me. Professional needs. Are there specific business functions you need to manage with this planner? Client meetings, projects, deadlines? Do you need space for contact management or networking? That's a good question. Do you need to put other people's information in there? Time management and productivity. Do you need features that help with time management, such as time blocking or goal setting sections? That would clearly be a planner. The 7 Minute Life has that. And I believe the planner pad does too. It has time.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So yeah. Would you benefit from productivity tools like to-do lists or habit trackers? Be careful with those. There are some great ones out there, but you can really go down the rabbit hole with that. And one mistake that I've made and I've seen people make is you you have separate, your to-do list is separate from your calendar. And so that's where problems happen. At least for me, I can have all these lists over here, but unless they make it somehow into my plan or my calendar for the day, it's not going to happen. Digital versus physical, which do you prefer? Are you a physical or a digital person? I'm a little bit of both. If choosing a digital planner, what are your requirements for compatibility and syncing? Phone, computer? Are you a Mac user or a PC? Layout and design. Do you prefer daily, weekly, or monthly layout? Barbara, you said you use year at a glance. I think maybe I've used that once. So it just depends. It depends on what you need. I certainly would use daily. I use daily, but I look at my calendar monthly. I rarely look at the weekly view on my Google Calendar. I need to see the whole month. I either need to see the day or the month. So what do you guys think? What do you guys need? Are you looking for a planner with room for notes, or do you prefer a more structured layout? I want my notes in my notebook, personally. And how important is the aesthetic design? Colors, themes? How important is that to you? And then almost finished, budget and durability. What is your budget for a planner or calendar? And how durable does your planner need to be considering the material and binding? I like a pretty cover on my notebook, and I just ordered that from Amazon. I've noticed that the most planners that I see on Facebook ads are in the $30 to $50 range. So think about your budget. There are less expensive options out there as well. And then additional considerations. Are there any additional tools or accessories you need with your planner? How many of you are like me and realize that the pen or pencil matters? It really does. Like, I either have to have a really good pen or a pencil with an eraser. Barbara,
one of the things, but when I was a planner pad user, I used a mechanical pencil. I mean, I had a thin mechanical pencil, and it was thin enough that it would fit in the spiral. So I could put the mechanical pencil down in the spiral, and it had an eraser, and I carried that with me everywhere I went.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm like that too. I'm actually on a kick. I go back and forth between a really nice pen or a mechanical pencil. I'm on my mechanical pencil kick right now, which when I say that on a kick, I mean, allow yourself to ebb and flow. Your thing, the way the things that you like and the things that work for you may change. Allow for that ebb and flow.
Let me just put in something here. I'm going to put in a red flag here, because one of the things I've seen through the years, and I know you have too, Andrea, because we've talked about it, is that you need to try something long enough to know why you don't like it before you change.
Yeah.
So if you say, okay, I'm doing this, and oh, this isn't working, and you throw it away.
Yeah.
If you discard it without taking time to say, what don't I like about it? I don't like the size, or I don't like whatever. Because if you don't identify that, then you're not going to learn from it, because you'll just, you're going to try something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. When I say ebb and flow, I give it a good long time. I mean, yeah, for sure. And then when I find something I really like, I've been using the blank notebook for years now, which is so funny because like I said, I'm so attracted to the planners that they make these great Facebook ads for. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And I love it. And I want all the little, I was a big Franklin Covey person because of all the cool parts of it. But now I'm like, just give me a blank notebook. Just give me a blank notebook. So let me check the comments here. Look at the URL on the screen. That's where you can get your where you can download those questions. And okay, then Ed's added that. Oh, she put that on Facebook. Okay, good. So yeah, go get your free download for your questions. And then if you have any questions for us, you can go to productiveenvironment.com and click on contact, and that comes directly to me. So if you have a question, you're welcome to reach out to us and let us know, and we'll help you. The other thing too, we will, hold on, before I say what I'm going to say, let's see what Liz has to say. Mechanical pencil always. I'm a former engineer and I make changes a lot and need to be able to erase. Yeah. And I agree, you have to give it time and effort to get a new planner to work. Yeah. Yep. And you also, Liz, I think you also work a lot with helping people with their finances too, financial stuff. So that's definitely a pencil and eraser personality. So I love that too. So, but you know what? Make it special. Like get yourself a nice pen or a nice mechanical pencil. Make that time in a nice notebook or a nice planner, something that you like, and you may use it more often if you do. Christy says, has Barbara mentioned what she uses now? Yeah, I think you said you're using. Yeah,
what you Google Calendar, a notebook, and workflow.
So very similar. We ended up in the same place. Interestingly, that is so funny. Let me mention too. Christy is going. She's actually part of our. She's an alumni of our Certified Productive Environment Specialist program, and Christy has been working on a planner. And maybe we'll have Christy on when it's ready, because it's actually going to be on Amazon very soon, and it is for people with ADHD. Is that right, Christy? I think that's right. And it's related to feng shui. So that's fascinating. That'll be interesting to see, and maybe we can share that with you guys when that's out. So yeah, does anybody have any questions before we wrap up? Go ahead and put them in the chat wherever you're watching us from, and we can put it on the screen and see if we can answer your question or see your comment. I just want to say again that you heard us say it before, but I'm going to say it again. There is no perfect planner. You need to figure out what's going to work for you. And we can help you with that as well, with some of those questions. So Venice says, with you, Andrea, I work virtually, digitally, online from desk, no calendar or planner, have another system that works for my lifestyle, both pens and pencils at my desk, old-fashioned pencil for me. Yes. I love it, Venice. Yeah. So everybody, if you're somebody that is in your car a lot and you're going from here to there, and you having Google Calendar at your computer isn't really going to help you unless you use it on your phone a lot as well. So anyway, whatever your work style is, that's what you want to pay attention to. Christy says yes. So I think that's yes to ADHD and feng shui. So that's awesome. I can't wait to see that, Christy.
So Andrea, I just, you've got to let me have the last word.
Of course. Oh wait, hold on. For those of you that are old enough to know Paul Harvey, tell us in the chat if you know who Paul Harvey is. Paul Harvey would teach talk, and then he would say, and the rest of the story. This is the rest of the story. So Barbara is going to wrap up. We have covered tips, tools, questions, tricks, all these things, but Barbara has something really, really more important to share when it all comes down to it. So Barbara, go for it.
Well, there was a quote that used to be passed around in coaching programs a lot, is if you wanted to know what was important to somebody, you looked at their calendar and their checkbook. Well, most of us don't carry checkbooks anymore. We do carry calendars, and we've talked a lot about those. But I want to go a bit deeper with this. And I have a question that I really want you to seriously consider as we go through this holiday season. We're thinking about next year, what we've accomplished this year and what we wished we'd accomplished that we didn't, and what we want to. And the question is, if you were to leave this earth tonight, what regrets would you have? I think it's a really important question. And my philosophy is that the answer to that question is actually a form of clutter, because we define clutter as anything that prevents you from accomplishing your work and enjoying your life. So, very personal story. I asked myself that question, and the answer to it was that there was one of my children that I did not have a very close relationship with. And I'd tried some things, but it didn't work. And I finally just, oh, well, it's up to her. And then I thought, no, it's not. It's up to me. And so I made a plan about what I was going to do. And I'm happy to report that great progress has been made. And it's because I did some planning and did some things in my calendar to make it work. And I'd mentioned to you that the only time I was really very focused is in the morning. And there's a verse, Psalm 16:11, that says, You will make known to me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. In your right hand are pleasures forevermore. And it has been my experience, it is my experience, that the closer I am with my Creator, not telling him what I want to do and asking him to bless it, but asking what he wants me to do, to reveal it to me. He doesn't speak to me in a voice which frustrated me for years. He never has. But he speaks to me through other people and through opportunities and through things like that. And the more time I spend in his presence, the more I know what to do with my time, which is our most precious commodity. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and check the description box shortly for all of the things we talked about in today's live stream. So bye, everybody. That's all for Pep Talk, Productive Environment Podcast for today.